The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest building Ambassador Choi's son had ever seen. Its ceiling rose so high that clouds formed inside. Lights floated in the air like small suns. The walls were made of stone older than human civilization itself. 47 species had sent their representatives to this place. They sat in circles that rose up like a stadium, each row higher than the last. At the very top sat the oldest species. At the very bottom, almost on the floor, sat the humans. Choi's son had been Earth's ambassador for 8 years. He was a patient man. He had learned to be patient in this place, where everyone looked down on his people. Humans had joined the council only 32 years ago. To species that lived for thousands of years, humans were like children who had just learned to walk. That today's session began like any other. Grand Arbiter Velos, a tall creature with gray skin and 4 arms, called the assembly to order. His voice echoed through the massive hall. "We have a formal complaint," Voss announced. "Deglem Morrow of the Driffin Empire wishes to speak." Morrow stood up from his seat. He was short and wide, with scales that shimmered like oil on water. His small eyes found Choi's son. Immediately, the humans have expanded into the villain corridor, Morrow said. His voice was sharp and unpleasant. "They build colonies there without permission. They take what is not theirs. This is typical behavior from such a young and foolish species." Cho stood up slowly. He held a data tablet in his hands. "If I may respond, Grand Arbiter, Earth received formal permission to settle the Velen corridor 3 years ago. I have the documents here. The permission was granted by this very council." He tried to send the documents to the main display. Nothing happened. The system rejected his request. "The evidence is not necessary," Vel said. "We all know how humans interpret rules. They twist words to serve their hunger." Laughter filled the hall. Hundreds of alien voices made sounds of amusement at Choi Sung's expense. Morrow smiled, showing rows of small, sharp teeth. "The humans are like insects," he said. "They breed fast, they die fast, and they spread everywhere they can. Perhaps we should spray them with poison like the pests they are." More laughter, louder this time. Kai Sung kept his face calm. His heart beat hard in his chest, but he did not show it. "I must protest this language," he said. "Earth has followed every rule. We have honored every treaty. We have paid every tariff. We ask only for the same respect given to other species." A delegate from the Torvin home world stood up. He was impossibly old, his skin hanging loose on his bones. "Respect is earned over millennia," he said. "Your species has existed for the blink of an eye. You will be forgotten before we finish our morning meal." The Colossi delegate joined in. She was beautiful in a strange way, with silver hair that moved like water. "We were kind to let you join us at all," she said. "Most of us voted against it. You should thank us every day for our generosity. Instead they complain," Morrow added, "like children crying for more dessert." Kai Sunung took a deep breath. "I request a recess to consult with my government." Vios waved 2 of his 4 hands dismissively. "Request denied, and this matter is too simple to require consultation. Your government will forget this conversation by next week. Anyway, your kind has such short memories to match your short lives." The laughter came again. It filled the hall like water filling a sinking ship. Cho stood alone on the floor of the chamber. Above him, hundreds of aliens looked down with mockery in their eyes. Some did not even bother to hide their contempt. Others whispered jokes to each other and pointed at him. Let us vote. Velos announced. The motion is to revoke human settlement rights in the corridor and impose a guidance tariff on all human trade goods. The tariff will be set at 340%. Choi's felt his stomach drop. That tariff would destroy Earth's economy. No one could trade at such rates. It was not a tariff, as it was a death sentence for human commerce. All in favor, every hand in the chamber went up, every tentacle, every claw, every appendage of every species, all except one. The motion passes. Velos said the humans will comply within 30 standard days. The session ended. Delegates began to leave, still laughing and talking about the entertainment they had witnessed. Kai's son remained standing where he was. He had not moved. Morrow walked down from his seat. He approached Sheng, slowly, enjoying every step. When he was close enough that only Cho could hear him, he spoke. Go home, little creature, Morrow whispered. His breath smelled like rotting meat. Tell your kind to remember their place. You are nothing. You have always been nothing. You will always be nothing. The galaxy belongs to species like mine. By species that matter, you exist only because we allow it. He patted Choi's son on the shoulder like someone patting a pet. Kai's looked at Morrow for a long moment. His face showed nothing. No anger, no fear, no shame, just calm, quiet patience. Then he bowed, a small, polite bow, the kind of bow a person gives when they are leaving a room. He turned and walked out of the chamber. His footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. No one left now. Something about the way he walked made them uneasy. It was not the walk of a defeated man. It was the walk of a man who had seen enough. The great doors closed behind him. Morrow laughed nervously and looked around at the other delegates. Humans, he said, so dramatic. But Elder Pax, the ancient Lumi who had not spoken in decades, had watched those closed doors with something strange in his old eyes. It might have been worry. It might have been fear. He had lived for 6,000 years. He had seen young species rise and fall, and something about the way that human walked out of the chamber reminded him of something he had almost forgotten. It reminded him of a storm gathering on the horizon. The message from Ambassador Choi's son reached Earth in 3 hours. Chancellor Kim. Yuna read it alone in her office. Then she read it again. Then she sat in silence for a very long time. She was not a woman who showed her emotions. She had led the unified Earth government for 12 years. She had faced wars, famines, and disasters. She had always remained calm, but when she finished reading that message, her hands were shaking. She pressed a button on her desk. She called an emergency assembly, she said. Every representative, every colony, every station, everyone. 3 days later, the emergency assembly gathered in the Pyongyang Citadel. This was the seat of human government, a massive building made of black stone and steel. It had been built to last forever. The chamber was full. Representatives from Earth, from Mars, from the colonies on distant moons and planets. They had come from everywhere. 12 billion humans watched on screens across known space. Chancellor Kim Yuna stood at the center of the chamber. Behind her, a massive screen glowed with soft light. Thank you all for coming, she said. Her voice was steady. I have something to show you. She pressed a button. The screen came Alive, the recording from the council. Played, every word, every laugh, every insult, yet the representatives watched. In silence as Morrow called humans insects, they watched as VOs denied them the right to speak. They watched as every species in the galaxy voted to rob them. They watched as Morrow whispered to Cho's son, the ambassador's hidden recorder had caught every word. You exist only because we allow it. The recording ended. The chamber was silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Kim Yuna let the silence hang in the air. Then she spoke again. For 32 years we have been good members of the Galactic Council. We followed their rules. We paid their tariffs. We shared our discoveries. We opened our doors to their traders while they charged us to enter theirs. She paused. We did this because we believed in cooperation. We believed that if we were patient and kind, they would eventually see us as equals, and we believed that respect could be earned through good behavior. Her voice grew harder. We were wrong. Admiral Park TJO stepped forward. He was a tall man with gray hair and a face like carved stone. He had commanded Earth's fleet for 20 years. For 32 years, we limited our military as the Council demanded. He said we kept our fleet small. We shared our weapons research. We allowed their inspectors into our shipyards. We did everything they asked. He looked around the chamber. They asked us to be weak, and we pretended to obey. A murmur ran through the representatives. Pretended. Dr. Hanari stepped forward next. She was small with short black hair and bright eyes that missed nothing. She was the chief weapons scientist for Earth. The Council believes they know everything about human technology. She said they are wrong. For 32 years we have been building not in our shipyards where their inspectors could see, but in hidden places, asteroid fields, dimensional pockets, places they cannot find because they do not even know such places exist. She smiled. It was not a friendly smile. We have weapons that make their technology look like toys. We have ships they cannot imagine. We have been preparing for this day since the moment we joined the Council, because we always knew this day would come. The chamber erupted in noise. Representatives shouted questions. Some demanded explanations. Others demanded proof. Kim Yuna raised her hand. The chamber fell silent. We prepared because we understood the truth. She said the Council never respected us. They never intended to respect us. To them we are children at best, insects at worst. They were never going to see us as equals. No matter how long we waited, no matter how well we behaved. She looked at the screen behind her, where a freeze frame showed Morrow's sneering face. So we have a choice. We can accept this. We can pay their tariff. We can let them take our colonies. We can bow and scrape and hope that in 1,000 years they might treat our descendants with a little less contempt. Her eyes swept the chamber. Or we can stand up. She held up a document. Real paper, real ink. In an age of digital everything, there was something powerful about a physical document. This is the Declaration of Sovereign Independence. If we sign it, we withdraw from the Galactic Council, and we renounce all 847 treaties that bind us to alien powers. We declare all human space to be sovereign territory under human law alone. She set the document on the podium. If we sign it, we will be alone against the entire galaxy. Every species will see us as rebels, as outlaws, as enemies. She paused, but we will be free and we will bow to no one. The vote was not even close. Every hand in the chamber rose. Every single one, not a single representative voted against. Kim Yuna signed the document. Her signature was steady and clear. The declaration was transmitted across the galaxy instantly. Every government, every species, every corner of known space, the final line of the declaration said everything that needed to be said. Humanity bows to no one. Humanity kneels to no one, but humanity remembers. On Orbit Prime, Grand Orbiter Vivilos received the transmission while eating his evening meal. He read it once, then he read it again, then he laughed. Humans have lost their minds, he said to his assistant. They think they can survive alone against the entire galaxy. They will come crawling back within a month. His assistant did not laugh. He looked at the transmission with worried eyes. What if they don't? He asked quietly. Velos waved his 4 hands dismissively. Then we will remind them of their place. The Council has 200 warships. The humans have perhaps 50. The math is simple. He returned to his meal. But somewhere deep in his mind, in a place he did not want to examine, a small voice whispered a question. What if the math is not as simple as you think? And the emergency session of the Galactic Council was loud and angry. Delegates shouted at each other. Some demanded immediate action. Others urged caution. Grand Arbiter Vevel struggled to maintain order. Silence, he roared, slamming all 4 of his fists on his podium. The chamber slowly quieted. This tantrum from the humans changes nothing. They are a small species with a small fleet. We will simply remind them of reality. Delegate Morrow stood up, his scales shimmering with excitement. I propose a punitive expedition. 200 warships should be more than enough to crush their rebellion. We will burn one of their colonies and they will beg to return to the Council. The vote passed quickly. The Council was not worried. They had faced rebellions before. Young species sometimes forgot their place. Show of force always fixed the problem. Fleet Master Keth was chosen to lead the expedition. He was a veteran of 6 wars and had never lost a battle. His species, the Vaughn, were known as the greatest warriors in the galaxy. He accepted the mission with confidence. Give me 10 days, he said. The humans will surrender in 5. The fleet gathered at the edge of Council space. 200 warships from 12 different species. Battle cruisers with cannons that could melt mountains, carriers filled with fighter craft, destroyers fast enough to chase down any ship. It was the largest fleet assembled in a century. Key chose his target carefully. New Busausen was a human colony on the border of their space. It had 3 million people and minimal defenses. The perfect place to send a message. The fleet jumped through faster than light space. Journey took 2 days. When they arrived at New Busausen, they expected to find a frightened colony and perhaps a handful of patrol ships. They found something else. A single ship waited for them. Keith stared at his view screen in confusion. The ship was enormous. It was larger than anything he had ever seen. His biggest battle cruiser looked like a child's toy next to it. The hull was black and smooth, covered in weapon systems he did not recognize. The ship's name was painted on its side in letters tall enough to read from space. Sovereign. What is that? Keith whispered. His sensor officer worked frantically at her Console, I do not understand these. Readings, Fleet Master, the ship appears. To be, I do not know how to describe it. Our sensors cannot fully scan it, and it is like looking at something that should not exist. Key straightened his shoulders. He was not a coward. He had faced strain. Enemies before. Open a channel, he ordered. The view screen flickered. Human appeared. He was younger than KTH. Expected, with a calm face and steady eyes. He wore a simple uniform with no decorations except a small flag on his shoulder. I am Captain Li Wu Jin of the Earth Vessel Sovereign, the human said. You have entered sovereign human space without permission. Keith almost laughed. One ship, no matter how big, could not stop 200. I am Fleet Master Keth of the Galactic Council Allied Forces, he replied. You will surrender immediately. Your colony will submit to Council authority. Your people will return to their proper place. Resist. Amen. We will destroy you. The human did not blink. He did not look afraid. He looked at Keth the way someone might look at a fly buzzing near their food. You have 30 seconds to withdraw, Captain Lee said. This is not a request. Key felt anger rise in his chest. This human dared to threaten him with one ship against 200. Your 30 seconds are wasted, Keith snarled. Ship's attack formation. Destroy that vessel. 200 warships moved into position. Weapons charged. Targeting systems locked onto the Sovereign. 20 seconds. The human captain simply watched. He did not give orders. He did not seem worried. 10 seconds. Keys. Flagship fired first. A beam of blue energy shot toward the Sovereign. It should have punched through any shield, any armor, any material in the known galaxy. It stopped 3M from the hull. Just stopped like it had hit an invisible wall. Then it disappeared. Sovereign fired back. It was a single beam of white light. Nothing special to look at. No thunder, no flash, no dramatic display. 43 ships simply ceased to exist. They did not explode. They did not break apart. They were there, and then they were not. 43 warships with 43 crews gone in less than a heartbeat. Fleet froze. No one moved. No one spoke. They stared at their view screens in horror at the empty space where their comrades had been. Captain Lee spoke again. His voice was still calm. You now have 15 seconds to withdraw. I will not ask again. Key's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. His hands shook on the arms of his command chair. He had never known fear like this, and he had never imagined fear like this. Fleet Master, his first officer whispered, what do we do? Key made the only decision he could make. All ships retreat. Maximum speed. Now, 157 ships turned and ran. They did not look back. They did not slow down. They fled like prey running from a predator. They could not understand. The Sovereign did not follow. Captain Li Wu Jin watched them go. When the last ship had disappeared into faster-than-light space, he turned to his crew. Send a message to the Council. He said, tell them what happened here. Tell them we let the survivors go as a gesture of goodwill. Tell them that next time there will be no survivors. He paused. And tell them that humanity remembers. On Orbit Prime, Grand Arbiter Vios received the report. He read it 7 times because he could not believe it. When he finally accepted that it was real, he sat down heavily in his chair. His hands would not stop shaking. Elder Pax found him there an hour later. The ancient Lumi looked at the report, then looked at Velos. I tried to warn you, Pax said quietly. I tried to warn all of you when that human ambassador walked out of the chamber. I saw something in his eyes. He was not defeated. He was waiting. Velos looked up at him with hollow eyes. What have we done? Pax turned and walked toward the door. He paused at the threshold. You woke something that was happy to sleep, he said, and now the galaxy will learn what happens when humans stop being patient. The galaxy waited for humanity to attack. They expected fire and death and revenge. They prepared their defenses. They gathered their remaining fleets. They braced for war, but the war never came. Humanity did something far worse than attack. They simply left. Every human merchant ship returned to human space. Every human scientist packed up their research and went home. Every human engineer walked away from the projects they had been building. Every human doctor closed their clinic and said goodbye. At first the other species did not understand. They thought it was a trick. They thought humanity was planning something. Then the problems began. The Torvens were the first to notice. Their food production had depended on human agricultural techniques for 15 years. Human scientists had taught them how to grow crops in their difficult soil. Human engineers had built their irrigation systems without humans to maintain those systems, but they began to fail. Crops died, harvests fell. Within 2 months, the Taurans were facing food shortages they had not seen in centuries. The Colossi discovered their problem next. Human doctors had developed treatments for a plague that had killed millions of their people. The treatment required human medical knowledge to produce. Without that knowledge, the plague began to spread again. The Drithan Empire fell. The hardest for 30 years. They had built their economy on exploiting human trade. The guidance tariff they had invented was supposed to make them rich. Human goods came in, they added their tax, and they sold those goods at huge profits to other species. But now there were no human goods, no human ships, no human trade. Their economy collapsed in weeks. Businesses closed, workers lost their jobs. The prices rose so high that ordinary people could not afford food. Riots broke out in every major city. Delegate Morrow, the one who had whispered insults to Ambassador Cho, was arrested by his own government. They needed someone to blame. He was put on trial for crimes against the state. The trial lasted 1 day. The execution happened the next morning. No one in the galaxy mourned him. Meanwhile, humanity revealed what they had been hiding. Dr. Hanari gave a presentation that was broadcast across human space. She stood in front of a massive screen showing images that made people gasp. For 32 years, we let the council believe they knew our capabilities, she said. They did not. They knew perhaps 1% of what we can do. She showed them the shipyards hidden in asteroid fields, ships being built by the thousands, not the small patrol vessels the council had seen, but massive warships like the Sovereign. She showed them the dimensional research facilities. Humans had learned to fold space in ways the council species could not imagine. Their faster-than-light drives were 10 times more efficient than anything the council had. She showed them the weapons, energy beams that could erase matter from existence, shields that could stop a sun, missiles that could think and hunt and never give up. We developed all of this while pretending to be weak. Dr. Hand said we let them mock us, we let them tax us, we let them treat us like children, and every single day we were building, preparing, waiting. She smiled. They thought our short lives made us weak. They were wrong. Our short lives made us urgent. Oh, we do not have millennia to waste on slow progress. We innovate faster than they can imagine. We adapt faster than they can understand. And now they will see what humanity can really do. Admiral Park Tahoe revealed the true human fleet, 10,000 capital ships, each one carried weapons that could destroy planets. Each one was crewed by people who remembered every insult, every laugh, every moment of contempt. But the fleet did not attack. Chancellor Kim Yuna sent a message to the council. Her face appeared on screens across the galaxy. We have no interest in conquest, she said. We have no interest in revenge. We do not want your worlds. We do not want your resources. We do not want to rule you. She paused to let her words sink in. We simply want to be left alone. We want to live in peace in our own space, under our own laws. We want the respect that should have been given freely but was denied. Her eyes grew hard. But if any species threatens human lives or human territory again, we will respond, not with words, not with warnings. We will respond with everything we have, and we will not stop until the threat no longer exists. She leaned forward. This is not a warning. This is a fact. Test us if you dare. The council did not dare. Grand Arbiter Vios resigned his position. He could not face the assembly anymore. Too many delegates blamed him for the disaster. Too many species were suffering because of the confrontation he had helped cause. His replacement was a young Torvin named Sella. She understood something Velos never had. The galaxy had changed forever. One by one, species began sending messages to Earth, and not demands or threats but requests. They asked for help. They asked for trade. They asked for the return of human doctors and scientists and engineers. Chancellor Kim Yuna responded to each message the same way. Humanity is willing to help those who treat us with respect, but respect cannot be bought. It cannot be demanded. It must be given freely as equals. Some species agreed immediately. They had learned their lesson. They understood now that humanity was not a child to be guided. Humanity was a giant that had chosen to sleep and had now awakened. Other species refused. Their pride would not let them bow to creatures they still saw as inferior. Those species were left alone. Humanity did not punish them. They simply ignored them, and slowly, without human help, those proud species began to fade, and the galaxy was learning a new truth. Humanity had never needed the Council. The Council had needed humanity, and now everyone knew it. 1 year had passed since the Declaration of Sovereign Independence. The galaxy was not the same place anymore. The old Galactic Council was dead. Half of its member species had collapsed into chaos. Their economies had failed. Their governments had fallen. Civil wars burned on a dozen worlds. The other half had survived by reaching out to humanity. They had swallowed their pride and asked for help. They had signed new agreements based on equality and respect. They had learned the hard way that arrogance had a price. Elder Pack stood at the window of his quarters on Orbis Prime. He looked out at the empty docks where Council ships had once filled the sky. Now most of them were silent, abandoned monuments to a time that would never return. He was 6,000 years old. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched species conquer the stars and then fade into nothing, but he had never seen anything like what humanity had done. They had won without firing more than one shot. They had broken the council without invading a single world. They had simply stopped helping, and that had been enough. He turned away from the window. He had a meeting to attend. The grand hall looked different now. The seats that had once held sneering delegates were mostly empty. Only a handful of species remained. They sat in silence, waiting. Chancellor Kim Yuna walked into the chamber with her delegation. She wore simple clothes with no jewelry or decoration. She did not need to show off her power. Everyone already knew what humanity could do. May Elder Pax met her in the center of the floor, the same floor where Ambassador Choi's son had stood alone while the galaxy laughed at him. "Thank you for coming, Chancellor," P said. His voice was old and tired. Kim Yuna nodded. "Thank you for asking." They sat facing each other. No podium between them, no raised seats, just two people talking as equals. "I must ask you something," Pax said. "Something I have wondered about since this all began." "Ask." "Why did you not destroy us?" Pax said. His eyes searched her face. "You had the power. We gave you every reason. We insulted you. We robbed you. We tried to burn your colony. You could have wiped us out and no one could have stopped you." Kim Yuna was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft, because we remember what it was like to be weak. Pax tilted his head. "I not understanding. Before we reached the stars, we were alone on our little world," Kim Yuna continued. "We had no one to compare ourselves to, but we read stories about what might be out there. We imagined aliens who would come to us with wisdom and kindness, aliens who would welcome us into the galactic community as friends." She smiled sadly. "When we finally met you, we learned the truth. The galaxy was not full of wise teachers. It was full of bullies, species that saw our youth as weakness, species that mocked us because our lives are short, species that took our kindness and used it against us." She looked around the empty chamber. "We could have become like you. We could have used our power to crush everyone who hurt us. We could have built an empire on fear and revenge." She shook her head. "But we chose not to, because we still remember those old dreams. Dream of a galaxy where different species work together, where strength protects instead of destroys, where being young does not mean being worthless." She met Pax's eyes. "We will not become what we despised. We will not treat others the way we were treated. We are better than that." Pax felt something he had not felt in centuries. "Hope. Then what do you propose?" he asked. Kim Yuna pulled out a document. Real paper. Just like the Declaration of Sovereign Independence, a new agreement. Not a council where old species rule over young ones, not a system where some voices matter more than others, but a true assembly where every civilization has an equal seat, where decisions are made together, where respect is the foundation, not power. She handed him the document. No tariffs designed to exploit the weak, no rules designed to keep some species down, just cooperation between equals, voluntary and free." Pax read the document slowly. It was simple, clear. Everything the old council had never been. "And if some species refuse," he asked, "then they may do as they please in their own space," Kim Yuna said, "and We will do as we please in ours. We will not force anyone to join, but we will not let anyone force us either. She leaned forward slightly, and if anyone attacks human space again, the response will be the same as before, complete, final, absolute. Pax nodded slowly. He understood. Humanity was offering peace, but they were not offering weakness. They would never be weak again. I will sign, he said. One by one the remaining delegates came forward. They signed the document, that some with shame in their eyes, some with relief, all of them understanding that the galaxy had a new leader, even if that leader did not call itself one. When the signing was complete, Kim Yuna stood. One more thing, she said. The first delegate to represent humanity in this new assembly will not be me. She turned toward the entrance. Ambassador Cho Sun walked into the chamber. He looked the same as he had a year ago. Calm face, steady eyes, patient expression. But something was different now. He walked with his head high. He walked like a man who had nothing to prove and nothing to fear. He took his seat, the seat that had once been at the very bottom of the chamber. Now all seats were equal. No one laughed. No one whispered jokes. No one looked down at him with contempt. Instead, they watched him with respect, as some watched him with fear, but all of them understood that this man represented a species that had changed the galaxy forever. Kai Sun looked around the chamber. He remembered standing here alone while hundreds of aliens mocked him. He remembered Morrow and LT, Unk and GT's hot breath on his face. He remembered walking out through those great doors. He had been patient. He had been silent. He had waited, and now he was here again, not as a victim, not as a joke, but as an equal among the stars. He smiled softly. Let us begin, he said, and no one laughed.